Welcome, everyone. I want to start with a little thought experiment. Think about the last time you read a news article about something you're genuinely an expert in. Maybe it's your profession, a hobby you're deep into, or a topic you've studied. Did it get everything right? Probably not. Now here's the uncomfortable question. Why do we turn the page and assume the next article about a topic we know nothing about is perfectly accurate? That's the Gell-Mann Amnesia Effect, and it's what we're exploring today. Here's our roadmap for the next few minutes. We'll start by defining exactly what this effect is, then dig into its fascinating origin story involving a Hollywood legend and a Nobel physicist. From there, we'll explore the psychology behind why our brains keep falling into this trap, look at some everyday examples you'll probably recognize, examine how AI is making things worse, and finally, I'll give you 4 practical ways to break the spell. Let's dive in. Let's start with the core idea. The Gell-Mann Amnesia Effect describes something that happens to all of us every single day, and most of us have never even noticed it. Once you see it, though, you can't unsee it. Here's how it works, step by step. You open the newspaper or scroll through your news feed and land on an article about something you genuinely know well, and it's a mess. The journalist has reversed cause and effect, misunderstood basic facts, or presented something completely backwards. You notice every error because you're an expert. You feel that mix of exasperation and amusement. But then, and this is the critical moment, you turn the page to the next article about international affairs or economics or a topic you don't know much about, and suddenly you're reading it as though that same publication is magically accurate. You've just experienced the Gell-Mann Amnesia Effect. That's the exact words of Michael Crichton, the best-selling author of Jurassic Park and creator of ER, who coined this term in a 2002 speech. I love this quote because it's so visceral. He doesn't say inaccurate information, he says baloney. He wants you to feel the absurdity of it. And once you hear it phrased this way, the effect becomes almost embarrassingly obvious. How can the same publication be laughably wrong about one topic and trustworthy about another? The origin story is wonderfully self-aware. Crichton gave this speech in 2002, and he was completely candid about why he named it after Murray Gell-Mann. He said, essentially, I'm dropping a Nobel laureate's name to make my idea sound more important. That honesty is refreshing, isn't it? But the effect he described was very real, and it resonated deeply with anyone who'd ever read news coverage of their own field of expertise. The name stuck, and here we are, over 2 decades later, still talking about it. And who was Murray Gell-Mann? A brilliant physicist. Nobel Prize in 1969, then, who named the quark one of the most important figures in 20th century physics. But here's the delicious irony Crichton was playing with. Gell-Mann spent years complaining about how terribly journalists covered science. They got everything wrong. And yet, today, if people recognize Gell-Mann's name at all, it's because of the amnesia effect, not quarks. The term outlived the context, which is its own kind of meta-commentary on media and memory. Crichton had a name for the most common type of error. Wet streets cause rain stories. It's when a journalist reverses cause and effect to create a cleaner narrative. The streets are wet, so it must have rained, except the article presents it as the wet streets causing the rain. It sounds absurd when you say it out loud, but this happens constantly in news reporting, especially in areas like economics, where a journalist will look at what happened in the market and retrofit a neat cause. The story becomes tidier, but it's also completely wrong, and we consume these stories every day without questioning them. So why do we keep doing this? Why don't we learn? The answer lies in how our brains are wired, and it's not our fault, but it is our responsibility to understand. There are a few psychological mechanisms at play here. First, we unconsciously assume that a publication has consistent standards. If the sports section and the business section look the same, we assume they're equally rigorous. Second, when we're outside our domain, we simply don't have the knowledge to spot mistakes, so nothing triggers our skepticism. Third, and this is crucial, constant vigilance is exhausting. Your brain's default mode is to accept information, not interrogate it. That's a feature, not a bug, because if you questioned everything, you'd never get through the day. And finally, there's social proof. Everyone around you seems to trust these sources, so you do too. It's a perfect storm of cognitive shortcuts. Let me give you some concrete examples you might recognize. A software engineer reads a tech article that's full of nonsense, terminology used wrong, conclusions that make no sense, and she's furious. But then she scrolls down and reads a health advice piece from the same publication and takes it seriously. A teacher sees an article about education that misrepresents basic statistics and shakes his head, and then turns the page and nods along with the economic forecast. A chef reads a recipe article that's completely wrong about technique, laughs it off, and then reads the same site's political analysis as though it's credible journalism. This isn't a rare occurrence, it's the norm. Now, let's talk about the modern twist that makes this effect even more dangerous than when Crichton first described it. Artificial intelligence has entered the chat, and it's a perfect amplifier. Here's where things get concerning. AI language models have a superpower. They write with absolute, unwavering confidence. The tone is polished, authoritative, and persuasive, regardless of whether the underlying information is correct. This is the Gell-Mann Amnesia Effect on steroids. You ask an AI about your field, spot the hallucinations and errors, roll your eyes, and then ask it about a topic you don't know and trust the answer completely. As Julian King pointed out recently, AI's confident tone isn't a replacement for reliability. The ethical bottom line is clear, but the AI said so is not a valid defense. Human judgment, curiosity, and contextual understanding remain our irreplaceable advantage, but only if we use them. So how do we actually combat this? Here are 4 practical habits you can start using today. First, pause and transfer. The moment you catch a publication or source getting something wrong in your area of expertise, consciously flag that source. Don't let your brain hit the reset button when you move to the next article. Second, cross-check. For anything important, verify the claim against at least one completely unrelated, reputable source. Third, ask yourself, how would I know if this were wrong? It's a powerful question that forces you to identify what expertise you're lacking. And fourth, cultivate productive skepticism. It's not about trusting nothing. It's about calibrating your trust based on evidence rather than defaulting to belief outside your domain. These 4 habits won't make you immune, but they'll make you far less susceptible. Let me leave you with this. The Gell-Mann Amnesia Effect isn't an argument for never trusting anything you read. That would be exhausting and unproductive. It's an argument for awareness, for carrying what you learn about a source's reliability from your own domain into every other domain you read about. The next time you catch a publication getting something wrong about your field, don't just laugh and move on. Let that moment stick. Let it inform how you read the next article. Turn the page, but don't forget what you know. Thank you.